local papers are investing a lot of money to try and get a service just like that started. Science editor Steve Newman reports on one person already using the brand new system.
For Christmas this year, I would end up striking gold and getting my hands on a Hornby Railway's Mallard model. A model and an engine that I've always appreciated, but I actually never got my chance to really own or play with until recently. And let me tell you guys, this model does not disappoint. If it wasn't already abundantly clear, this model is huge and so is the box that it comes in. And while I find this box to be not only very attention-grabbing, but very fitting to the model, I mean it's blue, there are also some things on it that I was disappointed with. For example, the overall blandness of the back of the box. There's a warning label in almost every language, but that's really it. And with how big of a deal the Mallard model is, you'd think they'd at least put a little bit of a history lesson or something on the back. It is history and there's plenty to tell, but maybe that's just me. For those who aren't aware of the significance that I'm talking about, let me give you that quick little history lesson. The Mallard is historically significant as it's the holder of the world's speed record for steam locomotives at 126 miles per hour. And the first of these locomotives would be built in 1938 on March 3rd. The locomotive itself is quite monstrous, being 70 feet long and weighing in at 103 tons. The overall streamlining and aerodynamic body of the locomotive would not only give this engine its iconic and very interesting look, but also gave the locomotive the ability to go at such speeds. It really does take a lot to get this big of a thing moving that quickly. However, Nigel Gresley, who was the original designer of the A4 class, would figure such out in stride. And the top of the box at least tries to embody that a little bit with this beautiful Mallard logo. Very simplistic, but still fine and very attention-grabbing. The side of the box details in classic Hornby fashion what the locomotive itself is. I don't think we need that with this one though. Hornby boxes are not blue, y'all. Unless you're Logan Paul, the differences in these should be pretty night and day. But it's a nice touch nonetheless. On a quick side note, because I forgot to mention it, the front of the box lets you know that the locomotive is DCC ready, but it is not DCC equipped. Kids, that basically means if you want, you can make it DCC, but if you're anything like me, normal DC power does it just fine. Alright, enough about the box and looking at it through a window. Let's get into opening this thing. Yeah, we're not gonna need these. Removing the plastic guard gives you the first real look at the locomotive. And I have to say, just on first impressions alone, this model is impressive. And so is Hornby's way of packaging the extra parts for this locomotive, which are actually found on the bottom of the box. These being the brake gear as well as a new coupler, should you want to attach one to the front of it. The back of the box also features these two poke holes, which make it a little bit easier to push the locomotive out of the box. And speaking of, I think it's about time we finally do that. It is not as easy as I thought to get this entire thing in camera shot, so let's take a look at all the details that it has to offer piece by piece. Normally I would separate the locomotive and tender and talk about each separately, however on this model the two are actually conjoined together, so it looks like I'll have to tackle it all at the same time. Starting with the front of the locomotive, on either side the Mallard features a very finely detailed nameplate, as well as a very small and nice separately detailed whistle. The buffers on the front of the locomotive are actually sprung, this being the first model I've ever owned to actually feature that. And the overall contrast of the dark red against the navy blue really helps to tie together how beautiful this locomotive is. The very front of it features its numbers being 4468, as well as a brake pipe that again has been separately detailed and added on. Personally, I hate when they mold this stuff, so I'm happy they did this. The top of the locomotive, mostly the funnel, is also detailed extremely well to the prototype. And again, I know I keep saying it, but points to Hornby for these separately detailed handrails. The crisp matte blue of the locomotive really shows on the sides. In a way, it really helps to get those little details to pop out. The cab of the locomotive is also numbered 4468, and though it's hard to make out, this locomotive does actually feature really nice cab detail. Just really sucks that I have to be the one to paint it. The roof of the locomotive is, just like the front, also finely detailed. I myself am not a rivet counter, but I assume that this would be up to par with someone who is. And getting to the tender, let me just say that I was extremely shocked. Just like the locomotive, they actually took the time to put little red wheels inside of it. And I'm happy that they did, because they could have cheaped out and just put normal black ones in there. What I found the most shocking about the tender though was how finely detailed the front of it was. It's hard to make out here, but it even features a coal chute, not to mention has plenty of room for a crew. The LNER print on the side is very finely detailed and finely applied, and of course they even managed to put separate handrails on the front and back of it. However, I was disappointed at the fact that the back buffers are actually not sprung. However, with all the positives that this model does have, I guess it's a small price to pay. The lamp hooks and other miscellaneous detailing on the back is also finely detailed. And now I need to get some lamps to actually put back there because, I'm a sucker for the little things, alright? And with that, all around I have to say that this Mallard model is pretty astonishing. Personally, I've always been a big fan of the Mallard as well as the Flying Scotsman, and now being able to actually own one is pretty crazy, especially when Hornby went above and beyond to make sure that it looks good. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Train Boy, are you going to put a face on this locomotive? And the easy answer to that is No, however, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in actually making him a character, so I have ordered a face for him that will be applied separately with blue tack, but won't be permanent. I still want to maintain its proper and collectible condition. And because of such, I'll likely add the extra detailing and a crew, but probably not much after that. I don't know if I trust my weathering capabilities that much. That and the Mallard isn't really a weathered engine, so. Overall, I would give this model an easy 9 out of 10. The only thing keeping it from that perfect 10 is the fact that the back buffers aren't sprung. Honestly, if you're gonna take the time to detail a locomotive this well and even put them on the front, I don't know, it feels a little bit like a cop-out to me, but again, it's not that big of a deal. I am beyond proud to actually own this model, and I can't wait to actually do a little bit more with it. Now, with all that being said, let's finally see this guy in action. At slow speeds, the Mallard runs quite exquisitely, honestly probably being the smoothest running model that I've ever owned, as well as consistent as it maintains the speed that I have it set at almost perfectly. However, this engine is a bit of a speed demon, and barely giving it any throttle means that it's going at full power for some reason. Well, not full power, but I am not going to put it at full power. I'm not going to watch it fly off the table like that. Altogether, this model runs and operates just as good as it looks, and I promise, for the last time this video, big points to Hornby. Putting this much attention into one of your models is, to say the least, is appreciated. I recommend this model to anybody who's a fan of the Mallard, or frankly anybody who models trains. Even if you're just looking for a model that can run smoothly and operate without any troubles, look no further than this model right here. Not only does it operate as good as it looks, but will make a fine addition to any collection. Bravo again to Hornby, and thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next one.